What if the biggest clues about God's purpose for your life are already hidden inside your story? The things you've overcome, the things you naturally do well, the moments where you felt most alive, the accomplishments that you almost dismissed because they came so naturally to you. Sometimes we think that purpose arrives as one giant moment from heaven, a burning bush, a loud voice, a perfectly clear calling all at once. But often God reveals purpose through patterns, through the abilities that He gave you, through opportunities that He's already placed in front of you, and through the person that He intentionally created you to be. The problem is, a lot of people spend their lives comparing themselves to others instead of discovering who God uniquely designed them to become. When we do that, we can completely overlook the gifts that God has already placed inside of us. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." That means that your life is not random. God designed you intentionally. And today we begin to recognize some of the clues that might point towards the purpose that God created you for. So today we're reading Created for a Purpose in Created to Dream. When God made you, He broke the mold. There is no one else like you. But like most people, you may have never taken the time to sort out and identify the things that you're good at doing and motivated to accomplish. As a result, it is unlikely that you use these talents and abilities as completely and effectively as you could be using them. One of the keys to understanding your shape, which as we talked about in our last video, is S, spiritual gifts, H, heart, ability, A is abilities, P for personality, and E for experiences. So one of the keys to understanding your shape is to look at your past accomplishments. For example, what if you bought your first car at age 16, built a collection of rare stamps, and acquired 3 properties? Then it's clear that you are perfectly designed to acquire and collect meaningful things. Now you just need to ask God how He wants you to use your specific kind of motivation to fulfill His dream for your life. So start praying today that you would find and follow God's dream for your life as you live and serve according to your shape. One of the most freeing things is to realize that God never intended every person to look the same. Some people are natural leaders, some are encouragers, some are creators, some are builders, some are teachers, and some are caretakers. Some people are amazing at connecting with others emotionally, and others are gifted at solving problems. None of these roles are more spiritual than the others. I think sometimes people assume purpose has to look dramatic to matter. But throughout the Bible, God uses all kinds of people with all kinds of abilities. Some spoke to crowds, and others served quietly. Some led nations, and some built things. Some cared for people behind the scenes. God works through different gifts in different ways. Often the abilities that He gave you are connected to the purpose that He's calling you towards. Not always perfectly or immediately, but they can be clues. That's why instead of constantly asking, what gifts do these other people have? It can be more helpful to ask, God, what's already placed inside of me? What comes naturally to me? What energizes me? What kinds of problems do I enjoy solving? What kinds of things have people said that I'm good at? And those questions matter more than we can realize. And this question in here says, Write down a few of your accomplishments. What insights do they give you regarding the dream that God created you to fulfill? So think about that. Think about your life and the things that have happened in your life that might point to what God has designed you for. Some possible answers could be maybe organizing things comes naturally to you. You're the person who naturally takes chaos and creates structure. School, at work, in your family, people tend to rely on you to keep things together. That could point towards leadership, administration, or stewardship gifts. Maybe people constantly come to you when they're struggling emotionally. You listen well. You make people feel understood. You naturally comfort people. That could point towards compassion, encouragement, counseling, or maybe shepherding gifts. Or maybe you're like me and you've always been creative. You like painting, photography, art, maybe music or writing. Maybe God designed you to communicate truth in a creative way that reaches people emotionally. Or maybe you're extremely analytical. You love solving difficult problems. You enjoy figuring things out. You think deeply. And that ability could become something God uses in powerful ways. Sometimes the clues come through struggles that you've overcome in your life. Maybe you went through anxiety, addiction, rejection, grief, loneliness. Now you have a heart for people that are going through the same things. Your pain may become part of your purpose. 2 Corinthians 1:4 says that God comforts us so we can comfort others with the comfort that we've received ourselves. And sometimes your greatest ministry can grow out of the places that God has healed you. None of this means that every talent automatically becomes your life calling, but these things can point you in the right direction. God often leaves fingerprints throughout your story. Question 2 says, how can other people help you identify and apply your shape? Is there someone in your life who can do that for you? So think about people around you. Ask people that you trust what strengths they consistently see in you. Sometimes other people can recognize gifts in us before we recognize them in ourselves. There may be things that you do naturally that impact people deeply, but you barely notice them because they feel ordinary to you. Think about it. If multiple people throughout your life have said things like, you're really good at encouraging people, or you explain things so clearly, or maybe you're incredibly patient, or you always know how to bring things and people together. That's not meaningless. Now, obviously, not every opinion matters, but wise, godly people in your life can sometimes help you to confirm the gifts that God has placed inside of you. And it requires humility. Some people underestimate themselves constantly. They assume, well, everybody can do that. But that's not true. The thing that comes naturally to you may actually be a gift. And on the other side of this, it also requires honesty. Not every dream we have automatically matches our actual gifting. Part of maturity is being willing to honestly evaluate where God has truly gifted us. Remember, though, your value doesn't come from your abilities. You're loved by God before you ever accomplish anything. The goal isn't to become obsessed with talent, to constantly try to figure out what we're good at and focus on that. Our goal is simply to understand how God designed you so that you can serve Him more faithfully. This book also has a prayer right here on the bottom. It says, I'm ready to go after your dream for me, Lord. I need your help to be thoughtful about my shape and your specific purpose for me. Thank you that you are always willing to lead me in the way I should go. Once you begin to recognize your abilities and the patterns in your life, the next step is to bring those to God. Purpose is not just asking, what am I good at? It's asking God, how do you want me to use what you've given me? So Philippians 2:13 says, for it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purpose. I love that verse. It reminds us that God is actually involved in shaping our lives and that He wants us to use the gifts He gave us for His purpose. It's not something you have to face entirely on your own. You don't have to do it by yourself. God can guide you. He can open doors. God can redirect you if you're getting off course. And He can develop your gifts over time, make them stronger and better. Sometimes purpose grows gradually. A lot of people are waiting for one massive revelation about their future. Often clarity comes from obedience, through serving, through trying things, or taking small, faithful steps. You may not discover your calling overnight, but you can begin to move towards the things that God has placed in your heart. Pray honestly. Ask God questions like, Lord, what abilities have you placed inside of me, and how do you want me to use them? Who am I called to help? What opportunities are you putting in front of me? And then pay attention. That's the hard part, is listening to God's answers after praying. Sometimes God guides us through burdens in our life, sometimes through opportunities, sometimes through open doors, and sometimes through the people in our lives giving us counsel. Sometimes it's the quiet realization that certain things that make you feel deeply align with how God designed you. I think one reason that people struggle with purpose is because they imagine it, that it has to start big. It has to be this huge thing. But most callings in the Bible started small. David served in a field before he led a nation. The disciples were ordinary people before God used them powerfully. Growth happens gradually. You have to be obedient in the small things before God gives you big things. Don't overlook the small opportunities. Don't think, I can't do much. You don't have to reach millions of people to live with purpose. Sometimes purpose can look like encouraging one hurting person, maybe just helping out your family, or serving faithfully in the church. Maybe you just need to be available when God opens a door. God often develops people in hidden seasons before leading them to bigger responsibilities. Success in God's kingdom looks different from success in the world. So if you've been struggling to figure out your purpose, remember, God's not hiding your purpose from you. He's not trying to make your life frustrating. He created you intentionally. And the clues may already exist throughout your story, and your abilities and your experiences and the things that have happened in your life, the things that move your heart, or the ways that you naturally help people. Maybe today is the beginning of paying attention to those things in a new way. So this week, spend some time reflecting. What patterns keep showing up in your life? What strengths have people consistently noticed in you? What kind of things make you feel most alive? And most importantly, bring those things to God in prayer. The God who created you knows exactly why he created you. If this video encouraged you, feel free to like and subscribe. Maybe share it with somebody who might need this reminder. Thank you for being here. Love you.